Next is about back-end development, one of the area even I loved, and where the core part of your website will be held in here. So the back-end development of the web application, that's what we're going to discuss now. So what is back-end development? Actually, we were discussing in the last few slides about the front-end development. Actually, back-end development, where you develop the business logic, where you develop a programming algorithm based on the whatever user request. Let's say users click on a search button by typing something on the text box, so you need to search, you need to find out what searching algorithm you need to write, and how do you call, how do you write, how that script that coding composed to work with the algorithm to go to a database and retrieve data. So that's about the backend development. So in a backend development, you mainly talk about how to develop develop a database, which mapping the front end web application, how that web application user request was supported with the data what it's holding in the database. So very much important the backend developer to aware of web server technologies. Example, you have a Microsoft web server called IIS, Internet Information Services, and from open source you have Apache web server, and there are many more other web servers are available. I believe majority of web servers at on the net is using Apache. So due to that, majority of people using Apache web server. So the server end, it's the web backend developer need to learn nicely, which means the backend developers need to know how the web server works, how to configure certain things in the web server error corrections, and redirections, so many things. So it's a bunch of lot of things to learn under the backend development, but simply they need to know what web server does, how it works. Backend developer need to learn certain server-side scripting, server-side technologies, programming languages like rather scripting languages like PHP, Java, Servlet or Python, Java Servlet, JSP, Java Servlet pages, and Python and ASP.NET from Microsoft Technologies. So these are some of the server-side includes we call as server-side scripting language. So they need to learn this into to a master level. They have to master this programming language in order to talk to databases and get the data what the user has requested, and store data and so many things. So they need to learn these technologies. So um, backend developer and front end developer both has to work together, because the backend developer need to coordinate with the front end developer. Front end developer is the person who have designed the web application. Based on that, how's your logic, how's your algorithm should be written. So that's the discussion has to be done. So backend developers are really responsible on following things, not these couple of points what I'm going to put on my slides, but there are many other things that I need to aware of, but these some of them. How the website data will be saved in a database, which database is that database helps to handle concurrent processing, which means simultaneous access are allowed, and how the data will be saved, whether you're giving permission to save that data, whether you're keeping on that data on the same database, whether that data is backup in another database using a clustering technology, or rather using mirroring technology. You backup that data at the same time to another server, and even he is responsible of securing a the payment. So web backend developer sometimes need to work with the payment gateways which is given from the bank, and that has to be linked with your website, and how the payment has to be deducted when a transaction happen on a website, and how those where those informations were saved, where these informations were saved from eavesdrop and other penetration, like intruders penetrations. And I mean, you have to have a security mechanism implemented, and so you have to do a risk assessment even whether you have a risk of disclosing these data to unwanted third parties.